welcome to another episode of Amanda Homestead. My name is Amanda, and today we're going to be talking about carrots. I say it like that because carrots are an awesome crop. They are relatively trouble-free once you get them to germinate. And that has always been my problem. But I have found a way that works, and it works consistently. And I'm going to tell you all about it today. All right, let's get started. So here is our spring garden. And I've got a row here, which you can see is covered in this black kind of landscape cloth. And that is my first secret to growing carrots, is we do something called a stale seed bed, where you actually, about 4 weeks before you want to plant your crop, and this way what happens is the soil heats up under this black cloth, which causes the weed seeds to germinate, but of course there's no sunlight under there, so they all die. And then what you can do is you take the cloth off right before you're ready to plant, and you have got a relatively weed-free row to plant in. So we'll take our cover off and then we'll get ready to plant. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is something they might tell you that you shouldn't do, which is I'm going to apply a little bit of fertilizer to my carrots. Now, in the fall, I put on compost on my rows, except for the ones that I know are going to be roots the next year, because root crops don't want a lot of fertilizer. Otherwise, they will get very kind of leafy, and you don't get a lot of good roots. You get a lot more forked roots and things like that. So, however, in the springtime, when it's still cold out, a little bit of nitrogen can be just the thing to get them started, get them growing well, and then I don't give them anything else. All right. To begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a little bit of pelleted chicken manure. All right? Just according to the package directions. Now we're ready to seed our carrots, and our two big kind of secrets as to why this works are, number one, a seed starting mix, okay? So carrots are very small seeds, and it's very difficult for them to kind of push their way up through the soil. And so a lot of times, if you just kind of cover them back with your original soil, they won't be strong enough, those seedlings, to sprout up and get rid of and come through that soil. So what we use, you can see this, is a seed sprouting mix, which is incredibly light, okay? Very, very light. Easy for seeds to kind of come up through. It's designed for that very reason. And better yet, it has also got sphagnum moss in there, which will help maintain some of the moisture, because carrot seeds also take longer to sprout, and they need to be consistently moist the whole time, which can be a real pain if you're not watering every day. All right, so the seed starting mix, super important to cover the seedlings. And then the other thing we do is we get an open weave burlap. All right, so what I do after I've planted them is I'm going to put this open weave burlap on top of the rows, and that's going to hold in moisture. And it's also going to prevent any rain, any heavy rains we get, from washing away any of my seeds. So this means that instead of needing to water my carrot seedlings, my carrot seeds every day, I'm going to be able to do it every couple of days. And I'm only going to water for about 10 to 15 minutes, just enough to moisten the seed bed, and that'll be it. All right, let's get planting our carrots. All right, so now I'm going to seed my carrots. I'm going to seed them more densely than what I want them to kind of be in the end, because still may not get consistent germination. And that way I'm going to have to thin them, but I'd rather do that than come back and have to re-sow bare patches. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a thin layer of that seed starting mix on top of those carrots, only like just a little, like an 1/8 of an inch, 1/2 centimeter, depending on what kind of measurement you use, but not very much. Just a wee little bit, just enough to cover the seeds. That's it. Now we're going to put on our burlap on top of that. So now the burlap is in place. I've weighed it down with some bricks and patio stones and things like that, just to keep it kind of from blowing away. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my sprinkler and I'm going to let it run for about 10 or 15 minutes just until everything is nicely moistened. So now normally on these videos, I'd like to be able to kind of show you how it all turns out. But since carrots take an awful long time to germinate, somewhere between 2 weeks and 4 weeks, I don't want to like delay putting this video out that long. So, and I didn't save any footage from our carrot germination last year. So unfortunately, you're going to have to trust me that this really works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and shoot a follow-up video so you can see the after results. But I'm telling you, carrots have driven me crazy. And this is one thing that does get them to actually germinate consistently. Make sure after about 2 weeks that you start kind of pulling up the burlap and checking underneath it about every 2 or 3 days to make sure those carrots are, when they've germinated, that you take the burlap off. All right, that's super important. Nice thing about the open weave burlap though, if they do start growing up a little bit through it, there is some sunlight that comes through, so you will be all right even if you leave them a little bit long. Okay, so we'll see you on the next episode and have a great day. Goodbye.